When I think about people's relationships with and through technology at a time like this, I guess one of the really big things it highlights is just how different what's good for people and what's good for machines is. And what I mean by this is the fact that machines boast constant, continuous connectivity. They thrive on big data. They want constantly to be soaking up new information about the world and processing it. And that's the way you get the most out of machine systems. Constant, ceaseless updates. But people are exactly the opposite of this, and I think we're really coming up against the fact that getting the most out of people means providing small amounts of actionable, meaningful data. Machines thrive on big data. People thrive on small data. Machines thrive on connectivity. People thrive on variety, on rest, on recuperation. And this is becoming clearer and clearer as we do more and more things through our screens like this. We spend all day in front of screens, and everybody, I think, is realizing that you don't get the most out of people by simply trying to transpose what you did before into a virtualized environment. In fact, this can be deeply demoralizing. This can erode over time those things that people most crucially bring to the 21st century party: creative, critical, empathetic thinking. The kind of thinking we need right now, because obviously there's profound disruption going on. And so, for me, with my background in critical thinking and thinking about human cognition, we need to realize that what people need is not served up automatically by the kind of machine systems they use. We have to build it into our habits and practices together. In particular, we have to build in a variety in types and textures of time and attention. We have to build in rest and recuperation. We have to build in a variety of kinds of contact, not just video, not just sitting, audio, moving around, using the full gamut of human behaviors, realizing that we're brains and bodies, not just fingers and eyes staring at screens and tapping on keyboards. Above all, people need meaningful, actionable information, especially at a time of disruption and crisis. They don't want to be overwhelmed with connectivity. They need rest, recuperation, concentration, focus, and small amounts of data complete with explanations so that we can do the stuff that our machines can't do. Now, the greatest danger of our times, I think, is not artificial intelligence, worrying as though that may be in some ways. It's a different form of AI that I sometimes call artificial idiocy. It's what happens when people behave like idiots because the machine systems they're using push them into unhelpful behaviors, back them into corners, where people are not given the scope, the tools, the space and the time to think twice, to think critically, to be creative, to go beyond what's on the screen. I think in the end, one of the most important things critical thinking can bring to any business is the idea of challenging default states. We all carry with us an enormous weight of assumptions. The way that we've always done things has a huge momentum, and this is amplified by technology because, of course, all of the tools we use have default settings that it takes time and energy to change. Whether it's the default of email being to copy everyone in, to reply instantly, to populate everyone's inboxes with a sort of constant barrage of messages, or whether it's the default of messaging systems to be pulling updates towards you constantly, to be interrupting. In many ways, speed and interruption are the most dangerous defaults that are out there because they take away from us precisely the kind of serious time and serious thinking in which we might ask, well, why are we doing these things? Why are we doing things this way? What would it mean to do them differently? What would it mean to change our habits, to make different use of our time, to put in place different defaults? And so, I guess my final piece of advice for most people tends to be that an organization that takes critical thinking seriously is one where people are actively questioning what matters most and why it matters, and where they're being given the time and the space for this questioning to be powerful and efficacious at every level. Token questioning that can't change anything, is not really worth indulging in. It's just signaling. But if you can step back and say, what really matters in the situation? What's really going on? What are people's experiences actually like? And then what changes can we systematically make to do better? Well, then you're in the business of robust iteration. You're in the business of being able to see signals rather than noise, and rather than just being swept along by the default state like everybody else. You can perhaps make meaningful change where it counts, rather than token change just for the sake of doing something rather than nothing.